Good morning. A lot of you have had questions about books. If you live in Pensacola and you need a book, I'm the person for you. I will gladly let you borrow a book. I'm going to talk about a few. First, from my website, the ones that I liked most were Once, and it's a short book. I read it very quickly about the Holocaust. Make sure you have your tissues because it's about a little boy named Felix who is put into a Catholic orphanage. His parents place him there to save his life. Um, I loved it. I connected with this kid. What he does is amazing. I selected struggles and perseverance because almost every book is going to have struggles in it, so don't worry about whether yours fits exactly or not. I want you to read something you want to read, okay? And the reality of this is our class is so short, you might not finish. And normally I have the students finish and they do a final activity. Hopefully you're going to find a book that you're going to want to finish. But this semester you need to know we're adding a lot to it, and you need to take that into consideration, okay? I do want you to see what's new about young adult lit. It is quite edgy now, which is kind of going with our society. If any of you are reading teachers and want to know how I corresponded with parents, I put a parent letter out there that said, I have not read all the books in my classroom, and the parent either gave the student permission or I would send the title and the parent would write back or send me an email back. I only had 3 parents that ever wanted to know what their child was reading. And the first 9 weeks, 2 of those said, no, the kid's reading. I don't care what he's reading. I trust you. The last one, the only reason why and she told me this at the end of the year, the only reason why she kept wanting the titles is she was reading with him, which is, the best thing you could ever imagine. But another book I really, really liked was Winger. It's kind of a boy book. It's about rugby. Winger, the kid in it, is the wingman on the team, and he is very, very smart, very, very humorous. It is edgy. You have boys living in a dorm, and he's in love with his best friend. So it's a very, very good story. It has a very shocking ending, and a very thought-provoking ending. John Green is one of my favorites. Looking for Alaska might be my favorite book of his. That was probably the one that really hooked me. Very good story. Again, a lot of humor, but a lot of seriousness about the topics. And sadness, too. Fault in the Stars by John Green. Oh, amazing book about kids who have cancer. I have never cried as hard as I cried when I read that book. Another one that is tearjerker is Chris Kretcher. No, I don't have the book upside down. This is a story about a young man that finds out that he's dying. He's 18. He doesn't tell his parents. He tells the doctor, I don't want my parents to know because there are situations at home. And he knows he has a limited time to live and what he does with that limited time and how he learns a lot about life through all that. I love this book. My students love this book. Crutcher, I think, his work is a little bit more towards a better reader, but his stories are excellent. Whale Talk was the first book adult book I ever read, and that's what got me started. So he has a lot of books. Some other books that are maybe a little shorter, A Child Called It. Maybe you've heard of this. It's a story that is about a boy, and it's a nonfiction story about his abusive mother. I had to read it because the other 2 teachers would not read it. They just couldn't deal with reading it. It is difficult to get through, but I tell you, a lot of my high school reading kids read this and went on to read. There are 2 more in the series about his life. Sharon Draper is big out there. She was a high school English teacher that couldn't find good books for her students, so she began writing books. This one I really loved. It's a historical fiction about slavery and her family. She actually uses her family as the family in the story, and it's excellent. It's heart-wrenching. It does teach you things about what happened during that time period. And I had a lot of kids read this book. They loved it. She also writes some that are shorter. Tears of a Tiger. This one is most of them are about consequences. One of them Andy Jackson is driving the car that basically kills his best friend, and they've been drinking. I like her Copper Sun better than these, but the young adults seem to really grab onto these. The characters in them are mostly African American, and first, a lot of my African American students started reading it, but then I had, classes, a lot of the kids read these books. 13 Reasons Why. Good story. A little difficult to follow because it goes back and forth between tapes that a girl has taped and the boy that's listening to the tapes. She has committed suicide, and she is giving the 13 reasons why she committed suicide. This is Jay Asher. He's also the one that wrote The Future of Us, about, it goes back in time and kids discover Facebook when it's not yet discovered. That is a very cute story and a very quick read too. If you are into mystery, The Christopher Killer, there's a whole series of these. A young girl, her dad is forensics, and she wants to be involved in that, and so she does help to solve crimes, and it's very forensic based. I mean, like, what really happens in that kind of field. A lot of kids read these, really liked them, kind of short. There is a whole set of books by Duker. Duker writes books about main characters, male characters that are involved in sports. This one has to do with steroids. I don't like the way the story ends, but it is a good book and it's very thought-provoking. They're pretty quick reads. This is the one that ends tragically. Most of them end, real well, but just as a warning, I wasn't real happy, as you can see. Love Twisted. I'm sure most of you know Lori Halse Anderson or have heard of Speak, the book about a girl that has been raped and basically doesn't talk to classmates. I know that the book was written because of Lori's life, her life and what she dealt with. And so it's a very accurate portrayal. I liked Speak, but I love Twisted. Twisted is a male character. This is a book that got a ton of my kids reading. These are the hot books that were on the shelf. I had to go buy 7 or 8 other copies, and I still didn't have any on the shelves. And what I liked about this is so many of them read it that the discussions became very rich. So that was good to see. James Patterson has the Maximum Ride series. It's very popular. There is even a graphic novel in that series. If you want to read a graphic novel, there's one called Yummy on my site that tells a true story about a gang shooting. Read it. If you need something like that because of the way your lifestyle is, I'm not going to have a problem with it. I just want you to see how these strategies work, okay? And I want you to start thinking about how these strategies could work in all content areas. Some of my kids that were lower SES, and even the kid that named me the book dealer, he was a drug dealer. He liked Van Dypen's books like Snitch and Street Farm. There are quite a few books out there that are like that, and most of them have a realistic ending that's thought-provoking. Alex Flynn is also one of my favorites. I love Nothing to Lose. Cute story. His mom he's in I think a home where his mom is remarried, if I remember correctly, and it's not a good situation. The stepfather is abusive, and so he ends up going on the road and having to take care of himself. That was one of my favorites that came out when I was teaching. The newer books are on my site. Period 8 by Chris Crutcher is phenomenal. I love that book. I thought it was very well done. Delirium by, what is her name? I'm having a brain freeze. I cannot remember, sorry. Delirium was one of my favorites that I read this past summer, and it is a dystopian society where the government has decided to do surgery on individuals, and they found where they can disengage the love. And I enjoyed that story very much. The Edumacation of Jay Baker, also on my site, hysterical, loved it, laughed the whole way through. I think adults will like that one better because each chapter is based on a song that we know, not necessarily that the young adults know, but he's a brand new author, and I'm very, very impressed by him. You can read nonfiction, you can read fiction, you can read graphic novels, you can read anything you want to read. Why you're reading it is because you are going to practice those strategies, okay? And again, I even have that stack right there came from Simon and Schuster. I haven't touched it. Would love for you guys to write a review for my site when you read your book, if you finish, and place it up there. It helps. You know, teachers don't have time to read these books. And on my site, I give them warnings about what is in there because not every community is the same. And, you know, if we can get good books out there that kids love and teachers can know what kind of content's in it, it helps. But if we were all reading these different books, we would use those essential questions and discuss our books based on the essential questions. You know, I could tell you in this story how Bobby handles the struggle that he goes through as a single father. Okay, and what happens, and this is what makes me smile, is that kids start going, hey, James, do you have another copy of that book? Oh, I want to read that book. And you know what? It is the greatest marketing tool ever. I hope you guys have a great day. I hope that helps. I'm going to go ahead and send this out. And hey, I'm with you. I'm having a tough time keeping up with the course, you know, organizing it. And as you can see, I've got to go back. I've made a couple of mistakes on the Reflections notebook with numbering. It's a tough one. So just do the best you can. Don't stress out about the notebook. If you can only practice a little, okay? And I will talk to you soon. Have a good day.